Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know how this works. You send us a mountain of research articles, news stories, anything you're curious about, and we dig through it all.
That's right. We pull out the good stuff, the most interesting takeaways, the things that'll make you stop and think, I never thought of it that way.
Exactly. And today we're tackling a topic that's been buzzing around the headlines. Digital payments. Specifically, how those apps we use every day, Apple Pay, Google Wallet, Venmo, all of them, well, they're about to get a whole lot more regulated.
Yeah, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB for short, they just dropped this new rule that's basically shaking up the whole landscape.
Big time. From now on, those major payment platforms, the ones handling over 50 million transactions a year.
It's the big players, the ones you use all the time.
Right, exactly. Well, they're going to be under the same kind of scrutiny as traditional banks.
Leveling the playing field, that's what the CFPB is going for.
Okay, I got to be honest, 50 million transactions, that's a lot. But I don't really get how big that number really is.
It's huge. We're talking billions, with a B, of transactions every year across these platforms. To put it in perspective, imagine everyone in the U.S. making multiple digital payments every single day.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that paints a picture. So the CFPB is basically saying, hey, these tech companies, they're handling a ton of money. They're shaping how people spend, save, maybe even borrow. They got to play by the same rules as the banks.
Right on. It's not just about making sure your money gets from point A to point B anymore. It's about protecting you, the consumer, in all aspects of that transaction.
So we're talking about, like, what, data privacy?
Huge one. The CFPB is diving deep into how these platforms collect and use your information. Do you actually have control over your data? Are they getting your clear consent before sharing it with other companies? These are the tough questions they're asking.
Honestly, I never really thought about it much. These apps are just kind of there, on my phone.
Yeah.
I use them. They work. End of story.
Right. But there's a lot happening behind the scenes. And then there's the whole issue of fraud prevention.
Oh, yeah, that's a biggie.
Absolutely. The CFPB wants to make life a lot harder for scammers in the digital payment world.
Makes sense. So what are they looking at? Like stronger security measures?
Definitely. They're pushing for things like better fraud detection systems, tighter authentication, and making sure platforms respond quickly and fairly when unauthorized transactions do happen.
So let's say someone swipes my phone and goes on a spending spree using my digital wallet. Does this mean there's a better chance of catching him and getting my money back?
Potentially, yes. And here's another big one. The CFPB is taking aim at unfair account closures.
Okay, tell me more about that.
No more arbitrary shutdowns without a solid explanation or a chance to appeal.
Which, honestly, is a huge relief. It feels like these days your account can get locked for just about anything.
You're not wrong. So transparency, accountability, those are the watchwords here.
So it sounds like mostly good news for consumers, right? More protection, more fairness. But are there any downsides to all this regulation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Some folks, especially in the tech world, they're worried that all these new rules might stifle innovation.
Stifle how?
Well, will startups, the smaller companies trying to break into the fintech space, will they even be able to afford to comply with all these regulations? And could it slow down the development of new technologies, even ones that could really benefit people?
Yeah, it's a tough balance, right? You want to protect consumers, but you don't want to slam the brakes on progress either.
Exactly. And this is where things get super interesting, because think about it. The more we rely on digital transactions in our lives, the fuzzier that line between traditional finance and tech gets.
What does that even mean for the future of money? How we handle it, how we think about it?
It's a whole new world. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to what's happening, to understand the potential risks and benefits. Because this new wave of regulation, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right, this is really only the beginning of a much bigger conversation about how digital payments are changing everything and how we need to adapt as consumers, as a society. It's a lot to wrap our heads around.
It is. But even if you don't consider yourself a finance person, this stuff affects everyone. Every time you tap your phone to buy a coffee or send money to a friend, you're part of this evolving system. So it's worth taking a few minutes to understand how it works.
Couldn't agree more. So keep learning, keep asking questions, and hey, maybe think twice the next time you open up that digital wallet.
And hey, maybe even read those terms and conditions for once.
All right, that's a wrap for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
Bye.